This is my third attempt at making a review of the PodMic USB by Rode. I have developed a love-hate relationship with this mic. I love it and it kind of hates me. But before I get into all that, I want to go over a few of the differences between the original PodMic and the PodMic USB. Well, one, you can tell it's a slightly different color, but the new USB comes with this really cool windscreen. More about that later. But the big difference is this costs an extra $100. That's a lot of money over the original PodMic. Now, as you can probably tell, there's a problem with plosives in this microphone, that sound. Now, the original PodMic had this same plosive problem. Now, I bought a pop filter for my original PodMic, but it's not nearly as cool as this. It fits perfectly over the microphone and does change it. So when I say plosive problem, I guess if I get real close, I can still not nearly as bad as this. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Now, as you can tell, it's cut out the plosive problem with this microphone, but it's also colored the microphone as well. But I think in a good way, I really like this windscreen. So what would I pay to have this windscreen on this mic? Well, I would love it if I could buy one of these for $30. And if it was $40, well, I'd probably bite the bullet. Now, in real life, I've never had to match microphones. I've never had to make a microphone sound like this and then have a microphone sound identical to that for some reason. Because you're going to hear usually one or the other, and then you're going to EQ that to however you want. So it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to make them identical. And they're not, but they're pretty close. Now, I know I said it was silly to AB microphones this way, but this is a review after all, and so we're going to do it. Here is the new PodMic USB, and here is the SM7B, sort of the flagship of these kind of microphones. It does have that sort of announcer radio voice quality. Not sure, though, that I couldn't get something similar with some EQ on this microphone over here. So here's the processing turned on in the RodeCaster 2 specifically for this microphone. And it sounds a little closer to this microphone, but of course, it's never going to be the same. But come on, does this sound $400 and this $200? All right, you be the judge of that. Obviously, I thought it was worth something because I bought two of these. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of a sucker. Now, before I bought the SM7B, I bought this microphone from Shure, the SM57. It sells for about $100, and it's been selling for about $100 for the last 20 years. And I used this when I first started my podcast for about the first 6 months. Now, the 57 also has a plosive problem, as you can hear. So you're going to have to get a windscreen for it. And this little windscreen is pretty amazing, although it is $40. I'll put a link in the description. I don't know what this is made of, but there's like two types of foam, and then if you stick your finger down in here, it gets like really scratchy down there. I don't even know what it is. It's a little hard to put on, so let's get it on. Certainly not something you're going to want to pop off and on. But the results are actually pretty good, and it turns this microphone more into a broadcast microphone like this microphone. There still is a lot more bass here. So here's the PodMic next to the SM57. And, this would work. I could make this work. And, of course, I could make this work as well. So this is a very fine, usable XLR microphone. But what about the USB functionality? Is it worth the extra $100? Or with the windscreen, the extra $60? Oh, and just for comparison, this is the microphone that I typically use in the studio, and you can see this sounds a lot different than a microphone that you're speaking into a few inches away. And that's just kind of the reality of microphones. So that's why we don't jump between that microphone and this microphone. The superpower of this microphone is how well it works with Rode's free software, Rode Connect. You can basically have a free Rodecaster inside of your computer if you buy one of their microphones. So a couple of microphones like this, and you would have a two-person podcast, and that's all it would cost, would be the $400 for the two microphones. Well, you might want to stand, because holding this, that would be kind of silly. But that's still significantly less than getting a dedicated podcasting mixer. Now, these effects are actually in the microphone, and they're not in the software, meaning they're right here. And if there's changes that are made here, they're actually saved. You can just click here, and you get all of those effects. And so you can see here I've got a noise gate, which I have turned off. Here's a compressor that I've kind of turned up, well, actually pretty high. And then we've got an exciter here, as well as that low bottom. Let's turn that off. Yeah, can you hear the difference between the low bottom? And now the low bottom is on. Yeah, maybe not on your phone, but certainly through my headphones I can. Here's the exciter, and here's it without the exciter. Well, not quite as exciting. Actually, I kind of like it without the exciter. When I turn the exciter on, that's kind of a lot. There's a really SE sound in there, and not sure I'm digging it. So I can tone that back just a little bit by taking the tone wheel and turning it down, and I can actually decrease some of the harmonics as well, and so I don't have to have it full on. There's a lot of control. Of course, this is under the advanced menu. If you press this little button down here, I'm going to press that, and now I'm down into this simplified version where I can change the depth by just putting this up here. You can see how it kind of goes depth up and then down. Okay, yeah, whatever. Sparkle, that's probably an exciter, really, don't you think? Yeah, it kind of makes sense. Turn it up, yeah, kind of hear more S's in there. Bring that, and then I can have punch. Well, punch, I guess, is probably just a compressor. Oh, and over here we have a high-pass filter, which basically means we're going to let everything over 60 hertz go through, and everything under we're just going to completely cut out. And now for my big disappointment about this microphone. In a previous video, I showed you what Ryan had told me about this microphone, and this is the reason that I bought it.
But now you have USB, so you can connect it directly into your computer, or you can connect it even straight into your iPhone or your Android phone. It is MFI compatible. Anybody who is running a podcast and sometimes has a remote guest, if you have a PodMic USB that you can send out to your remote guests, their audio will be as good as your audio in the studio, which is really cool.
So when Ryan told me that I could send this microphone to someone, they could just simply plug it into their phone and we could have a great podcast, well, I got pretty excited. So when I got the microphone, one of the first things I did was plug it into my phone to see if it worked. It's not working. So when I contacted Rode's technical support, they told me that I had to buy this special cable from them, the SC19. So I waited 2 weeks for this to come. I plugged it in, and here's what happened. Okay, now you're hearing the audio that comes from the PodMic USB, and you can see it right here on this little video. Pretty awesome. Oh, but not so fast, because I found out that while it does work in the video application of the phone, it doesn't work on the phone. Nope, nothing. And when I called Rode technical support, they said, oh yeah, Apple doesn't allow that. They don't allow a digital connection through their Lightning connector to go in to make a phone call. And so my problem apparently is with Apple. Oh, and by the way, I tried it on an Android phone as well. One of my nieces, it was an older phone, but it didn't work either. And by this time I got super depressed because my dream was to take this microphone, put it in a nice little case, send it to a remote guest, and get this kind of quality over the phone to my Rodecaster Pro. But now that I've learned that it's not plug and play directly into your iPhone, at least to make phone calls, well, it's just a USB mic. A very good USB mic with some really good internal processing, so it's probably worth the money. Now, I need to confess that this is my one and only USB microphone, so I can't compare the USB portion to anything else. But instead of buying 25 microphones of my own, I'm going to give you a link to Tom Buck's website because he compared this microphone to 25 other microphones that he has. And I'm not going to call Tom a hoarder, but so I can go out and spend $10,000 on a bunch of microphones, or I can just direct you to Tom Buck's video. Tom commented on one of my videos once, and so we're tight. Well, I'm over here. But say hi to Tom when you see him.